Wait a minute, what the fuck? I haven't even done the intro. Oh, fuck.
Still, the most less than average podcast on the internet. With a host who's the smartest person in the room when he's the only one there. A continuing odyssey into mediocrity. Guaranteed to make you question your life choices and your own sanity. This is Complaints and Observations
and Carnival Personnel Podcast
with Dave LaPointe
and Joe, Biff and Jacques.
Who the hell is Dave LaPointe?
Or Joe, Biff and Jacques?
I think
they're
a bum. I think it's an absolute bum.
Hello, welcome to Carnival Personnel Sideshow. I'm Jacques.
This is Biff.
Joe here.
So, again, gentlemen, I'm being selfish in booking a guest that I have been looking forward to for a very, very long time. I'm going to quickly give the backstory that to surprise management, who was in Chicago working a couple summers ago, and she had a round birthday coming up, I threw the two boys and the dogs in the car and just showed up like, you know, the work mom, like we planned it. It was great. She had no idea.
You didn't drive the car with the kids in it, but you just showed up.
Yeah, yeah. So we did. We made the trek over. We stopped at the falls at like 6:30 in the morning. It was great. The candy is much better, as you know, Biff. So we showed up. It was great. But while I was in Chicago getting ready to come back, you know, our friend John, my old bass player, in Austin, just randomly says, "Oh, check out this podcast on your drive back." And so this is a couple years ago, and Joe and I were devoted to and still are the Gilbert podcast. But I would listen to the Gilbert podcast, Titus, you know, a couple other things. But my friend John, and I don't even know how he found this podcast called Complaints and Observation. I probably digested 7 or 8 episodes on the drive. Obviously, I was hooked. And the dude who hosts the show is a really great combination of the three of us. He has such Joe's personality where he understands the complete futileness of another useless podcast. And when he yells at himself, when he misspeaks, when he misquotes, when he doesn't enunciate, it's almost like he's parroting Joe's absolute, you know, diatribes on why do I even get out of bed, let alone
diatribe.
See?
Diatribe.
Yeah.
And then, you know, he goes off on these tangents. It's like, oh, this is like talking to a really smart person like Biff. But so he has Joe's
lack of self-esteem.
Self-esteem. He has a coupon in his back pocket for the rickety stool and rope store.
Oh no.
At the same time, he like spouts, you know, smart things like Biff.
Okay,
but
great. You know what? Your introduction is way long.
No, Biff. No, Biff.
Yeah, please.
But does it?
Wait, what was the weather like when you were driving down listening to the podcast?
Raining the whole way back. And it was more sideways and down. But he has yours low self-esteem, Biff smart, but my unwarranted sense of self-worth. And so as he's speaking nonsense, he's doing it with such bravado and such authority. I'm like, he is the perfect combination of the three of us. I've loved the podcast. I literally, after the trip, I went back to one. I listened to all the way through. Over the next couple of years, if I had a trip coming up, you know, for whatever reason, I wouldn't listen for a couple of weeks so I could save them, you know, for a couple of weeks. And I've been hounding this guy to come on our podcast forever. Yes, Biff, it's another long introduction, but I had to let you guys know why I thought it was so important to have Dave on. So it's Dave LaPointe from Complaints and Observation. And Dave, thank you so much for joining our little shit show.
Well, I mean, I don't know how to respond to that.
Quickly, because we don't have a lot of time.
Honestly, yeah, exactly. Jacques, I don't think anyone has managed to string that many like sort of nice things about me at one point. ever. So congratulations on that. And then Joe and Biff, I'm terribly sorry that he has managed to lump me into something of the two of you. So
I'm sorry that
my apologies.
No, not at all, because the problem really started when he lumped us into this to start with. So
I blame myself.
Well, you do. You started
it. I know.
Oh,
I started
really?
this whole podcast would not have started if I wasn't depressed in 2017 when something happened. So
all right. Well,
yeah.
There you go. It's funny because yesterday I listened to the Maria Dennis interview that you guys did, and I'm thinking to myself, tomorrow I'm gonna spend time with these guys, and the quality of guest between her and I is so vast that I can't fathom it. Like,
well,
this
don't
is
worry. There's going to be many guests that come out before your episode, so it'll be a gradual decline.
I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, whoever is on before me, bless them, because they're gonna look terrific once they get a load of this nonsense.
It is. We've had so many amazing guests on just literally in the past year, because the first few years of the podcast, truly, Dave, it was the height of the third act of Brady's Patriot career. So it was, Orange Hitler is a piece of shit, and oh my God, this is the greatest sports entity in the history of ever. And then Joe would play an old Caldor commercial.
Listen, we were trying to jump the shark, and we had no shark, and we couldn't jump.
You could jump.
No, the sharks are way back there. You guys are already past the sharks.
One of the skis we didn't have admission to the aquarium to have the sharks. So.
Oh man. Well, honestly, it's an honor. So thank you all so very much.
And it's fun because we've crossed over. We've had some of the same guests, which was really fun. And honestly, it's like you had Gene Dante on, who is an artist. My wife did Rocky Horror with like 25 years ago. And honestly, we had fun talking to him. I enjoy you when you had guests on. You are a great interviewer, and it's really fun. And like I said, it was like, even though we've had some of the same guests, it's like, yeah, I would rather listen, to yours than me banter on. But I want to start at the beginning. When did you start the podcast, and why? Why did you say the world needs this?
It had been something I'd been thinking about for a while. Just tossing the idea around, because literally my entire life people have reminded me that all I did was complain. So I'm like, why don't I take that and make something of it? And what the hell is beeping?
That's me.
Is
I apologize. Yes, I'll be myself.
Oh my God.
I was walking backwards. I was walking backwards, and my ass was just.
Sorry about that.
So then, COVID happened, and I got laid off from my job. So I'm like, all right, well, now I'm just sitting around doing nothing. Why don't I start this thing? And that was basically just how it began. I just, started recording, and that was it. Not much, no giant sort of aha moment or anything like that. It was just, like Joe, I figured that the world could use another useless podcast. And so.
Did you find it therapeutic dealing with like everything that COVID brought into your life?
See that, and that's the thing, Jacques. Aside from losing my job, like I didn't lose any actual living person to COVID. So COVID for me was just a break from humanity, and I don't want to say I enjoyed it, but I didn't dislike it nearly as much as everyone else did. Like I could just kind of, sit around and be alone, and have to deal with other people for a while.
No, I think collectively, I'm saying, well, at least for Joe and I, loved COVID pretty much. minus all the deaths, of course. But as much as we yap and stuff, we're not people person. Like, and again with our podcast, because we all have kids, and when you're old and have kids, you can't just go out and hang out with your buddies. So like Biff and I play hockey together, and hockey is 20% of Friday night hockey, Biff. and the other 80 is the seeing everybody and the hanging out.
It's really that.
You know?
I mean, till wee hours of the morning in the parking lot. It's a sad life.
Yeah, if you said to your wife, Dave, I'm going to drive an hour and talk to 20 buddies, drinking a few beers at a parking lot in Selmar, California till 2 a.m., somebody would call it 5150 on you, or you're having an affair, I mean, but us, it was
my wife would just say, oh, okay.
And then the same thing with Joe. It's like Joe's kids are a little older than mine, but it just worked out because his oldest was my kid's piano teacher. So I would just go to my buddy's house, yap for a few hours. The kids would take a piano lesson, but that was the best thing about starting this for us. So that's why I was asking. It's like there's always a reason why you go from, hey, I should do this, to buying a mic, signing up for whatever subscription-based thing, filling out the metadata, learning to edit. Did you have any editing skills before?
Oh, zero skills in literally anything, not just podcasting.
Perfect
anything
podcasting.
in general. You fit right in, really. And so it was a natural transition from knowing how to do nothing into literally doing nothing. And so, but I mean, like therapeutic, I don't know. It gave me something to fill the time and something to do and something to look forward to. At that, when I started, I was doing it twice a week. And then when I became, moderately employed again, I cut it down to once a week. But I mean, I have a thing for microphones. I like them. I like talking into them. And so it was another outlet to do that. But, honestly, other than that, there was really no other reason that I just wanted to fucking complain about shit all the time. That was literally it.
I don't know if the internet's ready for people to be complaining about stuff.
No, definitely not. That's why no one listened to the show, because no one is ready.
Well, you also let's not overlook the observation part of it, because that for me was your takes on things. It was really funny. Your takes on things, 75, 80% exactly how same page. And I've always thought, I should get to know this guy, but then I'm like, or he's going to hate me because of the 20% we don't agree on. You know what I mean? It's like the Quran and the Old Testament, 90% the same. 90% the same. It's that 10% that they're, no, we're the People's Judeo Front.
It's the 10% that causes problems.
Like there's one day you have this like rant about people going to the store in their pajamas. And I'm like, oh my God, he would hate, because I walked in the house. This is like 10 years ago. I ran to the store, get something in the morning. And by that point, management was up and she was outside in the front yard, with the dogs. And I pulled in the driveway, I got out of the car, old ripped Star Wars shirt. My pajama bottoms, which are old sweatpants without a drawstring, no socks, and my shoes. And she goes, and I'm carrying a Market Basket bag. She goes, you went to the store like that? I said, yeah. And she just looked down and she goes, oh, you just give it up. Yeah. Pre-COVID. This is pre-COVID. That's
but there's a separate thing of, the people in the pajama people tend to be younger, right? Because like,
oh no,
I don't know when it was. No, really?
Oh God, no.
Because I started to note one thing I started to notice was the airport pajamas, and that used to just drive me nuts. And obviously, I'm so old, right? That I came from a time where, as a kid, like my parents had to dress me up to go to the airport, right? Yeah, that's what we used to do. And now we have like, the younger people in the pajamas.
Yeah, we're at like court pajamas phase. Like that's how bad it's gotten.
Court pajamas.
Yeah.
No, my wife traveled a lot as a kid. Like a lot internationally, and she still misses like when you see a movie and you see like I'm trying to think of the airline, but
Pan
the
Am.
outfits, Pan Am, like there was just Pan Am. She just loses it. I mean, when we flew Emirates for the first time to the Middle East, and she was like, "Oh my God," because the uniforms they wear and the hats, it was akin to that. Yeah. But people, people, but the same thing. This is a crazy thing, and I gave my parents this picture. Like for the Boston Garden, and it was one of those things that Joe, Dave, and I have seen relentlessly at every kiosk during the holidays at every mall. Those sports photo things, and it's called The Last Hurrah. It's a photo from the same exact angle, the first game at the Bruins and the last Bruins game. And it always amazes me. You look at hockey photos through the 60s and the 70s, suits, evening dresses. And I was playing a junior tournament 84 up in Canada, and a family friend played on the Sabres. I went to the game, and I remember being in the hotel in my goalie from Sarnia, Ontario, Biff, and we were just jeans, t-shirts, whatever winter jacket we had, and just felt so underdressed because we're talking evening. This was Montreal Saturday night, and we're talking evening gowns, and just really it was.
Oh my God!
But now it's. It's every schlub has somebody's jersey on and this and those gold chains. When did that start? Whoever started that, first of all, genius. Genius.
It is. But
secondly, that guy needs to be punched in the twat.
Just look at the evolution of like game show audiences, like The Price is Right. You watch The Price is Right from the 70s. Everybody's like, all dressed up, and then like around the 90s, college kids started to become contestants on The Price is Right, and then like you see the homemade T-shirts, and it was just a shit show from then on. But I think it became more fun, and that's what pajama wearing out in public is now introducing into the zeitgeist. It's more fun. You're having more fun. It's less staid. It's less. It
strikes me as such a lazy decision, right? Like you have so few decisions when you wake up in the morning. It's like, okay, am I gonna get up and go to work? Am I gonna get up and brush my teeth? Or am I gonna get up and look like a complete asshole in public because I'm wearing SpongeBob, pajama pants and some stupid, sweatshirt and slippers, and it's be an actual human being. I don't think children under the age of 18 wear anything other than sweatpants.
Well, it's funny because so I started working as soon as my wife got pregnant. I'm like, yeah, that's it. I'm working out of the house the rest of my life. I'm not missing a minute of this. But then quickly I fell into what a lot of people did in COVID. See, COVID brought everybody down to my level. People started realizing showering every week, please. And I remember one day I'm at my house. We're living in Marina Del Rey, Biff, the place by the Whaler, and I'm like, when did the smelly guy from the bus get here? Oh my God, it's me. And my wife was like, she was away on a trip. She goes, you were wearing those clothes when I left. And literally, like where I lived at the beach. I had the dogs. I went to the beach 2 or 3 times a day. I walked there, usually in the morning at night, just let them run because we lived right at the beach. I was a homebody. I probably watched entire season of Battlestar Galactica in the 3 days she was gone. And I'm like, yep. So that's why like the 10%. And it's also funny when I started listening to your podcast it was a couple years ago. And just when I was getting out of sports altogether. And I mean, it's like
what he means is that when the Patriots started to suck.
No.
Yeah.
Biff,
which was honestly a good move on his part.
Biff, Joe and I, 2016 or 17, when this podcast started, we had the countdown to hating Brady because, as we all know, you either die a hero or live long enough to become the villain. Thank you, Harvey Dent, The Dark Knight. And it's true, but this is before the Kansas City overtime, game. But the writing was there. They were already talking. Oh, his contract's up in 2 years. Is he going to stay? His dad had already said it's going to. And he started. That's when in the offseason, I remember right on the New Hampshire-Massachusetts border, there was a giant billboard. Well, a billboard. They're all giant. It was giant. The Tony Robbins, Tom Brady. They were giving a talk somewhere, and it was an advertisement for that. And,
I remember that. Oh, good Lord, was that insufferable.
Right.
And so I have a bunch of professional voiceover people. It's a competitive field like acting or anything else. But of all the voiceover people out there, when Brady had his TB12 book, the audiobook, he read some of it and some of the excerpts it got really, but the lion's share of the book was voiced by the guy who does the Scientology books. And I'm like, you could have picked anybody else.
Yeah.
Way.
Anybody
Is that
else?
right?
Was, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
they
but to
needed
be
to hire
fair-
a guy that would sell bullshit really well.
It was a guy
Yeah,
who had done a
nailed
lot
it.
of their coursework.
Yeah.
It was a
I
guy
gotta
who
write that down.
had done
That is
some of that
insane.
coursework. And I remember it's like Tony Robbins, he's picking this guy, and he was. And this was after the concussion water, but before the, and he's selling all this shit. And it's like, oh, and then, but, just
But to
taking
be
his,
fair, is he any worse than Aaron Rodgers?
no,
I mean-
but here's my thing. It wasn't just the
You know what though?
Patriots,
It's a
Biff.
different kind of worse though.
It is a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
kind of yeah.
Yeah.
Biff.
Yeah.
It's like with me, basketball. Basketball had kind of faded in the '90s, not because of Celtic. I mean, I lived in LA during the height of it, and I just couldn't take it. It just sucked. It just sucked during the Kobe, Shaq years. So basketball
Shaq,
kind
yeah.
of, but then I will never
I thought you
forget.
hated basketball because you were racist.
Oh well, we don't like to
Yeah,
talk
too,
about that,
apparently.
Yeah, I mean, yes, too many white guys as far as I'm concerned. But here's the big thing with the Red Sox in 2004, because management moved out. She came out to LA. She was out there for the 2003, Game 7 loss to the Yankees. She's from Boston. She really gets it. We were with a friend at a bar watching, the World Series next year. And I'm on the phone to my, my college girlfriend of 6 years who I moved out to, who we're still good friends with, because we used to go to Sox games. Just Niagara Falls, just absolutely Niagara. 2007 World Series, I'm holding my little guy, and it's like 3 weeks after he's born. I just want to be, and 2000. But then when Lucchino walked into, when everything went sideways and Tito threw himself on the sword and said, I'm taking one for the team. It's time for me to go. He took all the blame for the chicken and beer. Dude, they were having the chicken and beer when they won the World Series, and it's not a problem.
Yep.
But when he left town, he took the high road. He took all the blame. And then Lucchino, or whatever, walks into the Sports Hub, not EEI, who covers the Red Sox.
Oh yeah. When John Henry walked.
John Henry.
John Henry, yeah.
The receptionist doesn't know who he is. He goes, I want to go on the air.
Who are you?
Okay. He goes on the air and for an hour talks shit. I'm like, okay, when you were selling the bricks, I thought it was a little too much. But now the guy left town. And now you're kicking, and that's the last time. And at the same time, look, Wakefield was my guy. Like him and Veritek are my two of my 3 favorite Sox of all time. They retired. Tito's out of town. I'm like, and I thought it was going to be hard that next year to not hang on every pitch. And the shit I got done. And then so fast forward. So it wasn't, yes, two things. I mean, I lived for the Patriots when they called it the Tidy Bowl, because the Colts, Baltimore Colts, and the Patriots were both 1-14 going into the last game of the season. It was like, who is going to the Tidy Bowl? They called it. I lived for the Patriots. I love Tom Grogan. I love Tony Eason. I'm on an island alone, but I was a kid. You know what I mean? Right. But
That's terrible.
But when Grogan came in '86 in the Super Bowl, when Eason hurt his mangina, I mean, I thought that was just great. And so look, so I can take shitty teams. I'll support shitty teams. I lived for the Red Sox in the early '90s when they were so bad. You would call Fenway and say, "What time's the game?" And they say, "What time can you be here?" And so I'll take shitty teams, but it was all the infighting and all the bullshit. So Joe and I were like, yeah, we watched the last playoff game. He threw Brady's last pass with the Patriots, threw an interception to the Titans, and we left the bar. And I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And I think what they gave us will never happen again. It's done.
Oh God, no, it's done. It's over with.
Never. Yeah. And if there's another Brady, if there's another Bobby, they're not going to play for our city. Joe, how difficult is it to watch a sporting event with me that means something?
It isn't stress-inducing at all. In fact, I think it heightens the experience. No, it's actually very stress-inducing. You have to, I bring earplugs to just watching a game with you sometimes because you get so loud. And then, but we get our cardio in, we get our, our steps in because, during halftime when we're, we have to get some air because things go south, then, we go for a walk around the block. Yeah, it's an experience.
I will tell you, Dave, 28-3, our friend Jim they got this. It's fine. Like, and he wasn't being sarcastic. He was the one person on the planet. He wasn't with us. We were at my mom's house, and he's like, yeah. So it's not enjoyable. So back on track. So Marchand misses. It's going to overtime. I turn off the TV, and my wife's sitting there, and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "They lost." She goes, "You don't know that." I said, "They lost the series. I've never turned on and watched a game. I didn't watch game 6. I knew, like, the thing is, when you grow up here, you just know. And we knew the other shoe was going to drop. And between my junior and senior year of high school, here's a sad flex. The Patriots lost what was then the most lopsided Super Bowl ever. At the time, the worst loss in Super Bowl history. The Sox, with Roger Clemens, best record in baseball. Again, best record in baseball, lose. The Celtics, that was the first time. And the previous 11 times they played the Lakers in the champion, they won. They lost. And in June, that's when the Bruins lost their second cup to the Edmonton Oilers in 5 games. Biff, was that 5 games? Was that the Fog game? Do you remember the 86 Cup?
Actually, I did not watch the 86 Cup series because I didn't have access to cable while I was in college, so I don't really recall that, but that sounds about right.
Yeah, the Fog game at the Boston Garden where they couldn't play because it was too humid, and literally, if you see the footage, you couldn't see center ice from the bench.
Yeah, that's happened before, though. I mean,
but 86 to the Celtics win. Sweet 16.
No, they lost to the Lakers. That's the first time they lost. So all 4 of the franchises made it to the promised land.
In 86.
86. Yeah.
I think the 86 Celtics won.
86 was Sweet 16.
No, 84. Nope, 81, 84. They lost in 86. Are you sure?
If only we had a way to look something like this.
I'm pretty sure.
Or then it was the following year that they lost. But
they lost in 87.
And in 18, okay, and an 18-month win. Yeah, that's when I graduated high school. Like 87, June of 87 is when I got out of high school. So in that year window, and that from the Super Bowl with the Bears to that. And again, people who put Roger Clemens on the Patriots Hall of Fame, it's like the Red Sox Hall of Fame. He's never won a playoff game in a Red Sox jersey. Look at and it was Bruce Hurst who won 2 of those games.
Bruce Hurst would have been the MVP if he won that series.
And here's the thing about being a Boston fan that really
nothing weird happened in that series, did it?
But that's what I'm saying. It's not that they lost. That they lost, that's the way they lost. And here's the thing, I can't...
Gloriously is how they lost. That's the best part about the way that they lost. It wasn't a normal loss.
Yeah.
It was absolutely glorious the way that they lost.
Right. And again, it's like the schadenfreude that we feel with the Seattle Super Bowl. like that moment, you know what I mean? It's like there's a little bit of us all that are like, oh, those poor fucks. Because you don't get over that. You don't. In the 2004 World Series, it was 2011 World Series. So I'm like, yeah, okay, Buckner's not the worst person who's ever been on. And it wasn't even Buckner. It was Jacques in the stands who, anyways, we could go. But that's why I stopped watching sports, because the other thing is I can't be I don't drink anymore because I'm not an adult. I can't sit down with my buddy Joe and have a couple beers. I drink, to quote Peter Griffin, until the Statue of Liberty looks hot. So
but to be fair,
sometimes,
right?
Biff,
even when you're sober,
right? Biff's point. She's hot to begin with.
She's naked under that rope.
Hello,
allegedly.
To quote Ghostbusters 2.
Random fun fact: the infrastructure of the Statue of Liberty was designed by Alex Eiffel. Anyways, moving on. So yes. I can't watch and be a casual fan. It hurts too much. It's like you can't see your ex, without whatever to a certain amount. So anyways, it's like, right. So I can't watch it. So
the guy who said, I've been in touch with my girlfriend from blah, blah, blah. That's
right.
Right. 20 years later. No, we're still, but
we're still good.
I can't tell if this is a complaint or an observation.
Well, but that's it. So now this is why Dave and my world now connects. I'm done. I'm out. I'm cured. Like I used to, and Joe will tell you, 24/7 sports radio. Like at midnight, 2 in the morning.
Impressive.
Right.
It's impressive. I could never do that.
Right.
Could never do
It's
it.
interesting that what you say you're cured of though, because like I'll be, from my perspective, so I grew up a Leaf fan because I used to live in Toronto, and then I lived in LA for so many years, and so I became a Kings fan. And the moment I became kind of more of a Kings fan than Leafs fan was in 1993 when the Kings and the Leafs faced each other in the conference finals, and and at that point I changed allegiance and started rooting for the Kings because I had tickets to the Stanley Cup Finals, and God damn it, those tickets were going to be useful. And that's the point. But I think one of the things though is that what's interesting with what you said is that when, like, I think if I was in your position at that 2004, really, when after the long suffering and the Red Sox won, what happened with me in 2012 when the Kings finally won is kind of similar in that at the point where my team gave me what I was always yearning for, I'm able to say, you know what, it's okay if my teams kind of like don't do it, because you know what, I had 2012, I have 2012, and so that's going to keep me from being really over angry at the teams the way I used to be. So,
no, and I get it.
Mature take, Biff. That is.
It's not a mature. It's not mature at all.
It's level-headed, mature, and it's the complete
think that,
opposite of being a sports fan, which is literally being a fanatic. That's the whole point. Is that you are an insufferable, like just miserable.
Yeah.
You want your teams to win all the time.
And
when they don't,
and the right way.
In the right way. And so, like, people don't understand outside of this market, there's 2 sports radio stations. There's 2 TV sports stations. Local, not national stuff, and it's a religion. So I finally get out. I'm cured. I stopped. I took even the stations off my preset. And here's the thing. Of course, I have so many friends who love these sports. I hope for the best. I hope the home team wins. I wish the best for everybody. Then out of nowhere, and this, Dave, is why we still overlap in the sports arena. Out of nowhere, my non-sport kid falls in love with the World Cup. We lived in Qatar, and where I played hockey was in the shadow, like in the same complex where the big stadium where the final was. Zero interest. Like zero interest. It's like absolutely couldn't have given a shit that this amazing thing and the construction's going on. We moved back here. Doesn't give a shit. They've done jiu-jitsu everywhere we've gone just to be out of the house. And not the joke, but the truth is the oldest one used to say, how long do I have to do this? And I used to say, until you can keep me from putting you in the car. Or you find something else. But I've done MMA my whole life. So it's like you find something else. Then you don't have to do this. So the little guy found football this year. He hates the word soccer. Like he will literally fist fight a nun if she says that. So
it's a short.
Hey, when are you getting a soccer tattoo, Jacques?
Well, here's the problem, Biff. I'm going to get to the problem, and Dave might help me figure this one out, because so he's a little bit on the spectrum. He's the funniest person I know. He's a genius. Like it's like off the chart genius. He's an asshole. He is the biggest asshole any of us know. And you see how my buddies aren't correcting me. Dude, he's a good kid. He's a great kid. He's funny. He's an asshole. He is so smart. It is crazy. He went from
kids assholes.
No, not
my kids.
I don't have children, and I consider all of them assholes, but that's just me.
Joe, you love my kids, yes?
I have been told yes.
Biff, you've been around my kids since he came kicking, screaming to the world. Is my little guy a great guy?
No, yeah, absolutely. Both of your kids are great.
Is he an asshole?
Well, I mean, apple tree, right?
I just want to say that it's good that he did that. It's very good.
So, Dave, and I don't know how it happened. He becomes this Ronaldo guy, and he's so because Ronaldo's out. Mbappe is his guy in the cup. And so we watch the cup, and it was great and it was sad because that last 5 minutes, there was more shots on goal the last 5 minutes of the World Cup finals than the entire tournament put together. And the Argentina goal, it's disgusting. He made saves that he will never buy a meal in Argentina for the rest of his life. So he was crushed, like the soul crushing thing. And that's
Really?
and that's the other thing with sports. If I could casually watch it, be fine. And my happiness was to, like, when the Patriots didn't win against the Giants, I was inconsolable for a couple months. Like we had a friend of Biff. Only Biff knows this guy from Boston. I didn't know that well, but I knew a little bit. He joined our hockey league. This guy, friend of Jimmy, came over to watch the game. We lived right at the beach, Dave, and my wife tells the story a lot better. There's a minute left in the game. I leave. I leave and I go and I sit on the lifeguard stand till dawn. I put my phone on airplane mode and I played solitaire and Tetris until and my wife said, so about 20 minutes later, the guy Dave's like, is he coming back? And she's like, oh, I don't think so. And he just sat and I mean, I literally couldn't go to work. I couldn't eat.
Jeez,
like that's and so that's why when I got out of sports. So now my little guy is going through this. And so I have to go to New York. I see this Pele store in Times Square, and I get him an Mbappe Ronaldo jersey. I get him a Man U jersey, number 9. He wants his name on the back. But then he loves Mbappe. And now, over the last year, we will be sitting there, Dave, and he will be, do you know this player? And I'll be like, I'm smart enough to say, oh, is he a striker or a midfielder? Nobody gets goofy over defenders. Biff will tell you who won every cup and who's in 1932 and who lost and who was the starting goalie. He will tell you who was the backup goalie. Who was the backup goalie for Edmonton in 84, Biff?
84 was that. That was a funny year, right? Because that's the well, so Moog was, I think, the primary.
I was gonna say, no, wasn't Fear still the number
but
one guy?
I thought that was like around the cusp of when they were starting to whatchamacallits, right? Because I think around the next year, after the next year, they traded away Moog to Boston because he wanted to be the starter, right?
See, and that's my little guy. You can have these conversations. Dude, he's 13 and he can tell you who started for Argentina and 72. All these things.
Incredible.
So now, of course, it's all, as far as I know, the only real soccer in the world is the Premier League. And so he loves Ronaldo. He loves this. Ted Lasso was the greatest show in history. But then all of a sudden, he's like, we have to get this beyond sports.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why? He goes, they have League A. What the fuck is League A? He's like, oh, that's the Italian league. And Pulisic, who plays for AC Milan. And, oh, I need an AC Milan jersey. Why? So we go from
Why
now
not?
right. So
Why
now it is Man U, it is AC Milan, it is it's Barca,
Real Madrid.
it's Real Madrid,
Barca,
and
okay.
well, because so I didn't know that they do these tours around the world, and so I took the oldest guy. Worked his ass off all summer, lifeguard. The only 2 days he got off, we're like, let's go do a road trip. So we left at like midnight, got to Times Square at like 3:30 in the morning, walked around for like an hour at like 3:30, went to Six Flags, slept in the parking lot, went to there. On the way back at the Pele store. We get home Friday afternoon, 4, 5 o'clock. And I'm looking at my phone and I say, oh, fuck. My wife's like, what's wrong? And I hand her the phone. Manchester United playing Arsenal in the Meadowlands 16 hours later. I was there. Oh, and I had my first real comedy booking because I just got into comedy, and I have to text the guy and say, I feel really bad. Hope I'm not burning a bridge. And we got in the car at 3:30 in the morning, drove down, slept in the parking lot at the Vince Lombardi rest stop, waited for the ticket office to open at 9, drove over, got tickets, 82,000 people at that game. And then when we were in LA a month later, I find out that Barca is playing AC Milan. And at the time he doesn't know and then we get there and my mother had given him $200 for the trip, which if you have children, you would know this. It literally it burns a hole in their pocket, so they can't keep any money in the pocket that
I'm an
long.
adult.
So
That's how money works for me.
Yeah.
It just burns a hole in my pocket.
So we get there, and it gets.
I do want to kind of because we've kind of been on this tangent, but so since we are talking about Boston sports, can you tell me? The only take on Boston sports I get is Jacques, and right now his take is kind of garbage because he doesn't really follow it anymore. So tell me, as a Boston fan, how are you feeling right now? Like, because the Boston Bruins, despite their disappointment last year, looking great this year. Just tell me how you feel as a Boston fan.
It's a constant revolver, not revolver. It's the
No.
term. It's I mean, in some cases maybe, but it's a constant change of ranking of the four major teams, right? And we're such fair weather fans, so anytime any of the clubs are doing well, we find ways to pick it apart and figure out how they're going to fail, because that's how we are.
How it happens.
Exactly. But right now, I mean, look, we all feel pretty good about the Bruins. We feel kind of about the Celtics because no balls on that team. Most talent in the league, but they are without guts. The Patriots are a mess, but
which you are a
improving.
season ticket holder, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Red Sox, the string of expletives I could put together to describe the Red Sox right now, they are so far. I mean, I would put the Revs are an absolute mess too, and I would put the Revs ahead of the Red Sox. I'd put that new, the Women's Hockey League. I'd put that team over the Red Sox right now. It's it's a mess.
April 19th, by the way, Biff, April 19th, 20 tickets, my sister and her henna circle. They're playing in Lowell.
Well, you could go tomorrow. They're playing in Lowell tomorrow too.
Oh, are they? Okay, I think it's great.
That's their home ice.
Too much. Oh, I thought it was
they in Worcester.
Well, yeah,
they were in
Tonga
Worcester
Center
at one point.
But so they're playing. So yeah. No, but that's the thing. Like, yeah, it's funny because when we used to get off the plane, when the wife and I would come back, one of the things she loved about LA is it wasn't Boston sports. Like, you get off the plane at Logan, and honestly, you can't take a step off the plane without, here's an 80-year-old grandmother with a Celtics jacket over her Bruins shirt with the Red Sox hat, and you can say, hey, who's pitching today? And she's like, oh, so-and-so.
But I do want to also get a different perspective on this. So I was on a Zoom call, a work-related Zoom call, where it's people from different companies all together, and this was a spring, and completely unsolicited, just before the NHL playoffs started, one of the women who's from the area says, well, I'm just sorry to say, Boston Bruins are going to win just another cup, so you guys are going to have to deal, with us again this year. And so, and obviously, that didn't age well, but I want you to tell, is that something you expect from a Boston sports fan, or?
I mean, once upon a time, maybe that's how we sort of thought of things.
So you're saying a relic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, that Bruins example is apt because anybody with a brain could kind of see that coming. The end of the season, they didn't look great. They were messing around with the lines, messing around with the goalies, and then Florida was red hot.
Yeah.
Tough as nails, which is which is what happened to the Bruins when they lost to St. Louis.
Which again,
our ass.
I was done after St. Louis because you lost at home to Game 7, and again, Joe and I made the mistake. We went to watch that game together in a bar. It's 1-0 before the first commercial break, and I'm like, yeah, and you just knew the way they were playing. That
one was tough because the team that I expected to show up didn't show up.
They didn't.
I have no explanation for what happened.
The best scoring line in hockey, hands down. But the same thing. But on the other hand, what St. Louis did to the Bruins is exactly what the Bruins did to Vancouver. When game 1 and 2, they tried to skate with Vancouver. They couldn't do it. Game 3, they put Sean Thornton in, and he hits one of the Sedin brothers, whose teeth are still rattling to this day. And you're like, yeah, this is it. Like they're going to win this cup now. Where the other way around, St. Louis came in and just
beat the shit out of them.
And nobody stepped up. Nobody stepped up, and that's the tough thing. But now it's interesting because Biff. The interesting thing about Dave is he knows all these. He's a football fanatic, and so the reason Barcelona's in the mix is we saw Barcelona play AC Milan. He bought a $200 AC Milan jersey when we saw them in Vegas, Dave, and instantly, because we got the other shirts at the Pele store in New York, and they were $100. It's at a game. And I'm like, dude, don't feel bad. Our best friend, John, he always says event-specific apparel. It means so much more. You will always remember it. So he got it, but he felt so bad. Lewandowski plays, and I don't know who the fuck Lewandowski was. I do now. is playing for Barcelona. And this is a fucked up thing. It's a friendly, so you can make unlimited substitutions. The second half, there's like 8 substitutions on each team. And my little guy, Dave, was like, oh, he just came over on transfer from here. He's had loan from there. I'm like, Rain Man, we're taking you to Vegas and counting cards after this game.
Cards, yes. There you go.
But then we're walking over the bridge back to the spot to get the Uber to go home. And somebody's selling knockoff jerseys out of a bag. And they're selling them for like, $50. And he's feeling so bad. I'm like, I'm going to buy you a jersey. He goes, no, I spent $200 on this one. It's like, buddy, you're fine. And so they're selling them out of bag. And I said, I'll give you 25. The guy's like, no, 50. I'm like, okay, 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Okay, 25. And so I bought him a Barca, same quality out of the bag. And so I'm like, you didn't buy a shirt for $200 now. You got 2 for $225. And it made him feel better. But we have, and here's the other thing that you might know, gentlemen.
So we're approaching 3 minutes to noon.
You guys got to go. But
let's get Joe's opinion.
You have to
said anything.
You have to well, Joe loves laundry. You can't put him in the dryer, so it's a pain in the ass to. But Dave is a huge Prem League fan, as is Joe. Joe, you're a big West Ham fan, right?
Yes, I love West Ham.
Really?
It's delicious.
Damn.
Wait, Joe. Who was the coach?
Right into it.
Who was the coach of West Ham?
Is it a West Ham or is it a West Pork roll? I'm sorry, that's a Jersey question.
But literally, Joe, think about put on your thinking cap here, Joe. At the beginning of season 3, who was the coach of West Ham?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Season 3.
The
Ted Lasso,
dude.
Nate the Great.
Right, Nate the of course. Okay, that was I forgot that he was the coach of West Ham. I forgot who West Ham was. I forget a lot of things, but I will tell you this: my lock of the week for the Super Bowl, Detroit Lions. I'm going to say it right here.
Detroit Lions.
Yep. They
put the house on it.
In the deal. Yes, in the deal, and that I just made up a phrase. In the deal. That didn't make sense before. Makes sense now.
Put it on a T-shirt.
In the deal. That's my lock of the week.
I thought San Francisco was playing.
Nope, sorry, not anymore.
Nope, not in my world.
Deal.
Yes, so they're in the deal.
They're in the
deal. So I'm going to zip it in and zip it out because I have to run.
So it's Detroit and Taylor Swift.
Yep,
that's right.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Sorry, Swifties, your time is over.
Joe has to go. Biff, do you got to go too?
I need to go in about 5 minutes.
Okay, Joe, I'll let you guys say goodbye, and Dave and I will keep yapping.
All right.
An absolute pleasure, Joe. Thank you so much.
It was nice to meet you. Sorry I couldn't speak for any period of time, especially because we were talking about sports. Now, come back and we talk about The Price is Right. I will yap your ear off.
I will talk about The Price is Right all day. So,
oh man,
next time.
Yes, next time.
We should have a Price is Right special with Dave.
Oh. Yes, and our friend Rodney. Anyways, we don't want to produce on air. Let's say that for after, backstage. All right, gentlemen. All right,
we'll see you.
It's been a pleasure.
See you later.
Bye.
So how did you become a big? So is it just West Ham? Do you have a La Liga team? Do you have a Series A team? Do you have what is a Croatia?
Or do you become a fan as an adult, or is this a carryover from
Oh no, entirely an adult. Yeah, no, entirely an adult. I have a cousin who was a Manchester United supporter, and I would hear about it every now and again. I didn't really care much about it, and part of the reason was it wasn't really on television, say 20 years ago. The only things that you would ever see were replays, occasionally on ESPN2, or Nessun would occasionally show a random, taped game in the Premier League. And so, I mean, every now and again, I would catch something, watch it, follow along on the internet, watch highlights and clips. And then once NBC got the contract to show games every week, I said, okay, well, because I'm insane, I need to now invest even more time of my life into yet another sport. And so decided to just pick a team. And so, I did a little research, tried to figure out, okay, what kind of team would I like to get into? And, the name West Ham was kind of amusing. And so I was like, all right, let's look into these guys. And there was, a very long, sordid, mostly negative history attached to the club. So I said, all right, this fits right into all the other crap that I'm into. So why not pick this team that is probably going to depress me at some point? And sure enough, that's how it's gone for the last 10, 12 years or so, is that I have put so much of myself into this club that it's one, entirely surprising, because I really didn't think that was going to happen. But at the same time, it has also brought me just so much joy. I mean, really, when the difference between, I think, football, world football, and American sports is that most people that follow these clubs, that's all they have. Whereas here, we have numerous distractions when it comes to athletics, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about the focus that they have, the singular focus, and the fandom is entirely different, so different, and it's very angry.
Would you put it, Dave? Would you? I want before Biff jumps this. I want a sidebar to talk about one of the things. Then we're going to circle back to this. But quickly, do you think it's akin to like college football? Like people who like Bama, that's it. They don't like Bama baseball. It's Bama football. People in Oklahoma.
Actually, I was gonna ask you about that aspect of it also, in terms of, because Jacques alluded to, Squishy having to watch 18 gazillion different leagues. So is that not the way it is with other people? That are they just really stuck on their primary?
I mean, it's in some cases, yeah. It's like the analogy that Jacques used, Alabama football.
Yeah.
But I mean, then there's rational people who will, be okay watching other clubs.
Right.
Most Americans, I think, fall into that category where they are okay having other clubs, watching other clubs, watching other leagues. Whereas in the UK, I mean, that's it. That's
when
one club. That's it.
And I don't know this yet. When a player leaves a team, are they dead to that fan base?
It depends on the player. So we just had 2 players leave. Syed Ben Rama, who is an Algerian who actually scored in the Conference League final for us last season, was kind of being a prick, like a lot of complaining. And so and you can see it on the pitch. You can tell the attitude of these players. So we didn't really care too much about his departure. The other guy we lost, a Spaniard, Pablo Fornals, midfielder, just a genuinely happy, nice guy, and a decent player. And the only reason he was leaving is because he wanted to go back to Spain and play more. So he sat down, he said goodbye to the fans, that sort of thing. And everyone was heartbroken when he's gone. So, I mean, it's welcoming back these guys is very, very interesting, no matter where they go and what they do.
Right.
But, in some cases, they're dead to us.
No, we were packing to move to Qatar, and in the garage, just a bin to throw shit out and a bin to sort to ship back here. And my wife hears a crash, and she turns around. And it's one of those sports kiosk photos that somebody got me when I came to visit. And she's like, "Oh my God, honey, what happened?" I said, "Oh, it's Johnny Damon." She goes, "Oh, okay." Like he didn't leave and go to Kansas City. He went to the Yankees, and it's like, thank you for what you did. You are fucking dead to me. You know what I mean?
Then he also ended up being kind of a prick.
Yeah.
Just in general.
Right.
And so that helped.
No, I mean, and that's the same thing. It's like, it depends how you. It's like it's really funny that the guy who plays Spider-Man, Tom Holland, like a year ago was like begging Son and what's his face to leave Tottenham because he's like, dude, go get a trophy. Like I love you. I want you to be here. I want you to win a title for me. But you're not going to. You have to leave.
Listen. Boston had that with Ray Bork, right?
Right, 100%.
Nobody in Boston, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Right?
to a point. I mean, but that was one of the most awkward things ever, and honestly hilarious.
Yeah.
He wins the cup and brings it back to City Hall Plaza. It was like, what?
right.
What is happening here?
Well, the big
I'm
thing is
happy for you, but no. Like,
but the
don't
big
do
thing
this.
is he took a pay cut to help the Bruins in his last contract. And the Bruins, the Jacobs brothers said, "Oh, he's taking a pay cut." Well, gosh, we're saving a lot of money, aren't we? And they didn't build the team. So everybody knew that they screwed him. So it wasn't like he went to chase a cup or he went to get more money. He he gave it all. So that's why I think it's different. Before we lose you, Biff, I want to tell you something else. And I just text Joe and apologize because of my fucking rambling because I'm an asshole. The one thing I wanted to loop Joe in talking to Dave is Dave is a very funny guy, Biff. And there's been 3 times where he has said stuff on his podcast that I instantly sent him a message saying, I'm going to use that in stand-up. and I told him very honestly, you said something incredibly funny. I'm going to use it. I will not give you any credit. I was
Well, it's only because he only has 5 minutes on
percent,
stage, so,
percent. And there was a couple times, and there's 3 times I've done it, and it's like one has really stuck. It's a QR code about.
Oh, that's so good. Honestly, that is one of the funniest things I've ever said, and I don't say too many funny things, but that is just.
So before Jacques says it, can you tell us what you said?
It was just wife and I had got a like a save the date for a wedding and a baby announcement like in the same day. And my thing was what the next point here is that we're going to end up getting a card with a QR code on it to announce a pregnancy. And when you click on the QR code, it's just mom and dad fucking and creating said child. Like that was the evolution of how this was going to go.
No, and I took it. It's like, when did a person having a baby become a full-time grift that makes me get a second job? A buddy reaches out, lets me know he's having a kid. I'm so excited. Going to be a great dad. And I said, hey, what can I get? Boom. He texts me a link. They're having a baby shower. Here's a gift registry, which is awesome. Takes the guesswork out. I was going to get nunchucks. Not on the list. But then there's a meet the baby party. I'm like, wait, what? And then there's a first birthday. So in a year, I buy this get 3 gifts. I never got 3 gifts from my dad in 1 calendar year ever. Once when I was 6, I only got 1 gift on my birthday in June. But that is the year he stopped hitting me. Laugh. And it's like, well, that's because he left the family. But this guy wants me to buy 3 gifts in 1 year. I'm half expecting to get a QR code that takes you to their OnlyFans page where you get to see the conception video. And the other joke he had, and it's awful. It's awful. And it just killed me. He gets to a wife's work party. Oh, we're having this function. Put on pants, go out on a school night.
Instead of sweats.
And he said, because he's a grown up. Right. He's a grown up. And so he ends up like, it turns out to be a party to raise money for this family member's cancer treatments. And he's like, thank you for this gift basket I won, but sorry you have cancer.
Wow.
In the way he said it, it's like, and it was part of his observation where he's like, we live in a fucking country where you have to have a fundraiser and gift basket raffle to afford your chemo. But on the other hand, it's a really nice gift basket.
I won a giant cooler, literally a gigantic cooler that I had my eye on the entire night.
That's a great haul.
I am going to win this cooler. And hey, here's $20 for your key. Thank you.
Sorry,
all right, I gotta get going.
All right, Biff, come on.
All right, finish it up.
Biff, an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right, we'll talk to you next week.
Do not forget,